Hello and welcome to Swimming Through the Void. So I wanted to jump into this book that was actually gifted to me last year called Invoking the Gods. Sort of been being guided to open this up and hit record. Show you guys the cover of this book. There are different sets of God energies in this book that you can connect to, and there's little stories and sort of directions or little ways to connect with these energies of these gods here. There's Hindu gods in here, Egyptian gods, Greek gods. We're gonna start off with the Hindu gods. We're gonna start off today with Krishna. There's also a sort of sister book to this book called Invoking the Goddess, I believe. It says on the back, explore the power of the male archetypes by calling upon the energies of specific god forms. This guidebook and companion volume to Invoke the Goddess shows you how to activate a positive and powerful connection to 15 gods from 3 different pantheons, Hindu, Greek, and Egyptian, with ritualized meditations and visualizations to increase initiative for greater power. To increase initiative, elicit the dynamic energy of Hermes. For greater power, invoke the might of Zeus. For career success, seek the business savvy of Ganesh. For magical prowess, call upon the wisdom of Thoth. So just a little example of what's to come on the back. And like I said, we are going to be starting with Krishna today. It is a gloomy and rainy day here in Detroit, Michigan. And it's feeling like a good day to dive into a book. What better way than to dive into this book together? I have worked with a lot of these energies. I haven't read much of this book yet, but I have, like I said, worked with a lot of these energies along my path. A lot of these energies actually came up and approached me in different ways. And it really does help along our journey. It really helps us tap into these different archetypal powers and energies within ourselves. And it's just sort of a fun way to dive in. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be starting with Krishna. Get into it 1 second. Make sure I got everything together here. Make sure we're recording the sound. I have the laptop sort of tilted downwards so the glare isn't disturbing you guys. And let's get into it. Krishna. Got this dope picture of a peacock here. The soft-skinned youth stood in the middle of the sword-bristling battleground and spoke. His voice was pure and mellifluous, soothing the senses of the tensed troops. Then it was like thunder, hungry for human blood, and all who heard him found themselves confounded except for royal Arjuna. The eternal man cannot kill. The eternal man cannot die. The soul of man is not born, nor does it die. And for all of my women out there, please you feel free to interchange man and woman. When it says man in this book, it's just speaking of mankind. It's just speaking of humankind, okay? Soothing, okay. The eternal man cannot kill. The eternal man cannot die. Oh, and one more thing. My camera stops at 30, so when I get close to 30 minutes, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to restart, okay? From wherever we leave off, we'll pick up. The eternal man cannot die. The soul of man is not born, nor does it die. Weapons cannot cut it. Fire cannot burn it. The substance of the soul is everlasting. Selfishness binds its host to the wheel of pain. Disinterested love and devotion liberate their practitioner from the cycle of duality. Then is sanctuary found in the gods who create and sustain and destroy as they wish, but whose compassion for mankind is limitless. Hear me, Arjuna, and be not afraid. The friends you see on this battlefield cannot be slain by your sword, nor by any other means. They stand at the gate between worlds, the visible and invisible. Your sword is their key, and their blood your own. For it is ordained that you should fight, warrior, dispatching these brothers to the next stage of their progress, just as Shiva himself destroys the illusions of life. Breathe, God. Be God. God flows through us, Arjuna. He fills our souls with lights and fortifies this spiritual armor, which may never be pierced or removed, for it encapsulates the eternal. Our actions bespeak God, and though to nurture a moral conscience is correct, your procrastination ill befits you. Faith, Arjuna. In distant bower, flanked by peacocks, I heard a cowherd sing in a similar refrain. Faith, Radha, who clings to my knees and grinds the hem of my garments in her pale hands, even as I try to quit the corpse. Eons have we spent in lovemaking, in blissful union with one another and with God. But creation is limited in its support of status. I must move on soon to return. If you willingly release me. Whatever you do, dedicate it to me. In this way will all of your actions become sacrosanct. Before you eat, think of me, and in this way will your food become true nourishment. Before you work, pray to me that I might bless your endeavor and make it fruitful in love. The only karma worth working for. Before you sleep, meditate on me, that I may take you one day to live in Krishna Loka, where all is beauty and abundance, and gurus of the highest integrity wait to instruct you. Strive and do so in my name. When you doubt, when you are racked on the wheel of suffering, when Maya threatens to engulf your senses, speak to me. I am your friend, your guardian, and your lover. I will not forsake you. I know what it is to live on your dense earth, to be torn by dualities, to be driven hither and thither by the wild horses of sense distraction. With devotion to God, you may tame them. With love of me, you may transcend the barbs of flesh encapsulation and rise, released to the loving embrace of the celestial. By chanting my name and the holy name of Rama, you will free yourself of the shackles of the Kali Yuga. which is our present age that we are incarnated in currently. Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu, that is, one of the Hindu god Vishnu's many incarnations. He is a familiar god form in the West, thanks mainly to the work of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and his followers. For decades, the Krishna consciousness movement has spread enlightenment in the form of the Bhagavad Gita and other writings promoting vegetarianism, clean living, and devotion to God. The most familiar feature of this group is the joyful chanting, dancing, and rhythmic percussion that accompany their many incongruous jaunts through the urban centers, providing a reminder in the midst of the daily humdrum of something far more important than shopping, working, or meeting up with friends. The Krishna devotees with their shaved heads, Ajna chakra markings above the bridge of the nose, and flowing robes remind us of the fickle nature of transitory pleasures, of the body's impermanence, and of the pressing need to get in touch with our true spiritual source. We will each have our own technique of doing so, of course. Strict ascetic living, except when dancing up and down the street, is not everybody's method, but we will benefit from the work of any who are wholly devoted to spiritual progression. The liberating mantra of the current age, the Kali Yuga, is the same, chanted perpetually by our Krishna-devoted friends. This mantra is purported to lighten the weight of Maya, which is the illusion of being an ego, of being a body, which keeps us in earthbound misery, and to bring our souls closer to the Godhead. In this materialistic era, in Hindu chronology, the most degenerate to date, we can benefit from a perspective-gaining chant, the continual repetition of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, brings great spiritual insight and a profound sense of release from trivial concerns and emotional ties. It is an absolute godsend in times of emotional crisis, stilling the mind and allowing little celestial healing to take effect. This chant, the Maha Mantra, translates simply as Hail, my Lord Rama, my Lord Krishna. Its point is to establish contact with our cosmic overseer by whatever name we might identify the Mother, Father, God. You guys, and this mantra truly is miraculous. I'm internally chanting mantras, but Maha Mantra throughout my day, always, whether I'm changing a diaper or I'm doing the dishes, these mantras are replaying in my head constantly, keeping me grounded, keeping me connected to source, and truly have filled my life with a permanent bliss that I really can't describe with these human words. But I'm even happy taking out the trash. And so these mantras do work. Rama is another incarnation of Vishnu. The Ramayana epic describes the many adventures of this avatar, the major theme being that of the preservation of Dharma, or universal righteousness. Dharma is essentially the same principle as Ma'at in Egyptian lore. Even the gods must obey this ethical code. There appears to be no parallel morality in Greek sacred teachings in which gods are infallible by birthright and mortals are pawn-like wretches. As with most embodiments of the divine in the more compassionate religions, the purpose of Vishnu's numerous lives on earth is to bring enlightenment and salvation to mankind. According to legend, Krishna was born in Mathura, located between Delhi and Agra. Some accounts ally his myth with the heroic escapades of a clan leader, warrior, and Krishna cult zealot who lived in Dwarka in around 400 BCE, which shows that Krishna was becoming popular at this point. He is a young god form by Indian standards, representing a new principle of love and devotion entering the Hindu religion, replacing the fear and detachment felt toward the more primitive deities such as Indra. In the myths of Zeus, with the Kronos of the crooked ways, and Jesus with the malign King Herod, it had been predicted that a boy soon to be born would overthrow the ruler, possibly indicating the influence of Asiatic religions on later Grecian and Middle Eastern mythologies. And Krishna's mother, Princess Devaki, was kept in close confines during her pregnancies. Kamsa, the king at the time of Krishna's birth, represents the old gods, eminently Indra, waiting to destroy any threat to his rule. Unfortunately for Princess Devaki, the prophecy had specifically mentioned her 8th child. Most of the issue of the imprisoned princess had been killed at birth, but as Krishna drew his first breath, the guards fell miraculously asleep, and his father, Vasudeva, was able to slip from the parental confines with the baby in his arms. Then Krishna's father performed the Moses-like feat of crossing the river Yamuna, which was then in spate. As in the biblical tale, the waters parted for him, and he crossed safely with the newborn avatar in his arms. In Gokul, he exchanged Krishna for the daughter of a cowherd, believing that King Kamsa would balk at killing a baby girl, who would be no possible threat to him. He was wrong. The king attempted to slay the babe, and he believed to be Devaki's 8th child. In true Hindi, action-packed epic style, she escaped his grip and levitated skyward. Meanwhile, Krishna was left to be reared in pastoral obscurity with his exiled brother, the agricultural deity Balarama, another incarnation of Rama. The pair are sometimes depicted alongside a final escaped sibling, their sister, Subhadra. As a child, Krishna craved buttermilk, symbolic of sacred nourishment. The cow, of course, is deeply respected in India as provider of unquestioning beneficence, and butter is a distillation of this principle. Krishna spends much of his youth in pursuit of this treat, dreaming up all sorts of ingenious ways to procure it. He is characterized by the principle of Leela, or divine play. This precautious behavior helps explain Krishna's great popularity. Who can resist a god who likes to laugh with his devotees? He becomes a living presence to children who listen to stories of him, and his mischievous pranks and playful banter lend themselves perfectly to comic strip scenarios. There are many children's magazines available in India that colorfully depict Krishna's various adventures. And there is a really dope children's show, Little Krishna, that depicts these stories as well, and my kids absolutely love it. Actually, you can find it on YouTube if anybody's interested. Like Apollo, after a few sips of ambrosia, Krishna springs instantly into Amrita-enhanced adolescence full of ardor. Both god forms spend much time in pursuit of the lovely specimens of femininity that inevitably grace the mythic landscape, but Krishna is an infinitely more successful suitor than his Greek counterpart. One of his titles is Stealer of Hearts, in respect of this capacity. Women are enchanted by his celestial beauty and hypnotized into leaving their own households by the transcendental music of his flute. Sheesh. On the November full moon, known as Shrahad Purnima, Krishna is supposed to have lured the very gods from the heavens with the melodies of his flute. According to the text of the Brahmavatara, no fewer than 900,000 devoted women also arrived on the scene, among them Radha. Krishna was happy to frolic with all of his pretty supplicants, but it is to Radha that his heart most belongs, which I believe she is in the Invoke the Goddess book. Despite giving his attentions to each and every woman during a 33-day dance, Krishna replicates himself so that each of his partners believes he is wholly hers. He clings to his beloved Radha throughout. She is his Shakti and bliss component, and together they form an entity of unsurpassed spiritual splendor, a channel of divine compassion into the earthly realms. The meaning of the union of Krishna and the gopis as his lovers are known goes beyond an astonishing series of pastoral liaisons. Part of the implication may be that fertility, as all rural gods clearly are inclined to lovemaking for obvious reasons, but the main import is much more sophisticated. Krishna represents God love, and in following him despite the taboos, in loving him more than their own husbands in status, his paramours are proving their unsurpassed devotion to God. They also experience the ecstasy of union with God through the physical and spiritual love known as Shringara, which is the root of the tantric practice. Krishna, likewise, is forced to exude the beneficence in every direction, even when he would prefer to confine it to the recipient of his choice. Likewise are the attentions of God drawn hither and thither by the pleas of his supplicants, some perhaps worthier than others. Here we find the root of Krishna's import. He is abundance. The butter and the love he steals represent his breaking with convention, his utter disregard for social structure, because it is only after abandoning the mundane, as do the Krishna consciousness devotees, that the eternal might be embraced. A similar lesson is apparent in Kali, but hers is the path of fear transcended, while Krishna's is that of love transcendent. Essentially, Lord Krishna epitomizes the highest ideal of divine love. Despite the fragile beauty of this blue deity as represented in his icons, Krishna is as strong as he is pretty, as resolute as he is delicate. As with most god forms, he heroically kills a number of demons and pernicious persons in order to preserve dharma, or righteousness. These demons, such as Madhu, represent blocks of dense energy or negativity, much as crocodiles do in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Krishna kills these monsters with his refined thought processes, using the powerful yogic techniques discussed in the Bhagavad Gita. Unlike the many monsters of the Greek mythology, which seem to represent little more than obstacles to heroic quests, those of Hindu and Egyptian origin symbolize a variety of hindrances to the soul's ascension. The many-headed water serpent, Kaliya, for example, was so toxic that cows died after supping from her lake. Krishna dived fearlessly into the waters and emerged dancing and playing his flute on the head of a completely tamed Kaliya. This represents in part Krishna's understanding of the Vedas, which are often depicted as a many-headed python. Knowledge, which could have been dangerous, has been assimilated and made harmonious with him. With Kali as the root of the serpent's name, we may deduce that the serpent also alludes to the passage of time. Krishna, immortalized by his enlightened nature, is of course immune to the poisons of transience. Sexually speaking, the scenario represents Krishna's move into adulthood. an initiatory feat bound in symbolism with the Kundalini serpent. On a purely mundane level, it demonstrates Krishna's fearless faith in God, the prerequisite to true spiritual progress. So I'm going to stop this here and restart it real quick. I'll be right back, you guys. The Bhagavad Gita describes Krishna's accompaniment of Arjuna onto the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here he convinces Arjuna, who is understandably reluctant to slay his own brothers and uncles, that it is more important to follow the will of God than to be a slave of his own emotional attachments. Again, we experience the theme of foregoing the transitory or trivial in favor of the heavenly will. The philosophy behind this scenario is multifaceted, but two of its most salient features are that Arjuna is of the warrior caste. Therefore, it is his God-given destiny to fight. Secondly, that life and death are an illusion. Thus, if Arjuna wholly believes in his gods, he will kill and die in the knowledge that it is the body alone that is slain, not the eternal spirit. Thus, we witness Krishna as a god of philosophy, another of his important roles. He's not simply a deity of love, but he is intimately connected with some of the most profound spiritual tracks, still in the process of being fathomed, and which Swami Prabhupada, for one, would contend cannot be fully understood by those in the mortal condition. Arjuna himself had difficulty understanding Krishna's import, even though they were best friends and incarnation-long companions. Gentle Krishna is equally capable of challenging other gods. The older Vedic deities such as Indra and Varuna are superseded in might by the amorous blue god, just as Zeus supersedes Kronos and Isis disempowers Ra, allowing Horus Osiris to step into his role. The old regime is replaced by a new. Indra was feared, as was crooked Kronos, and Krishna suggests to the people that they might worship Mount Govardhana, whom we love, in lieu of the fearsome warrior deity. The people of Vrindavan, impressed by Krishna's taming and banishment of Kaliya, decide to give this new religious technique a whirl. So they worship a beloved deity and neglect the feared one, bringing 7 days and 7 nights of Indra's wrath in the form of thunder, lightning, and torrential rain. Krishna, ever ingenious, picks up the mountain with his little finger and uses it to shelter the people, casually maintaining this stance, hand on hip, until Indra's fury ceases. His attitude is cavalier, the stuff romantic heroes are made of. Blithely, Krishna attempts to elicit love, not fear of God. By the 2nd century BCE, Krishna was on his way to becoming the most popular Hindu god form, and today, millions of devotees are quite literally in love with him. Some consciously attempt to emulate his female counterpart, Radha, in order to concentrate their every thought on Krishna and to attract a fragment of his devotion in return. The height of positive emotion he inspires parallels him with the prophet of Christianity, and indeed he is often referred to as the Christ of the East. Few deities in religious myth have elicited such personal love from their followers. That being said, you guys, I want to say that from personal experience, when I was fully in Krishna sadhana, when I was fully in my Krishna practice, the energy is so powerful and so overtaking that I would feel just waves of bliss and love so strong that I would literally just start bawling, to the point where I hear certain mantras and songs, or even right now I'm getting emotional. Like, I would hear and think of Krishna and put him on my consciousness and in my spirit, and I can barely talk. Like, I get very emotional and overwhelmed with the feeling of love for the divine. And that's one of the beautiful aspects to worshiping this aspect of God. It really brings you into a state of love. And honestly, when you're in this vibration, it's hard for anything to knock you off your square. And it truly helps you transcend your bodily nature in a way that is very hard to describe. Okay, so fun fact. Because of the overriding popularity of Lord Krishna, he's often considered Purnavatara, the supreme avatar. Purnavatara, the supreme avatar, or the epitome of all other deities. Many Hindus consider Krishna to be God in toto. It is possible for a soul to be assimilated into the living entity that is Krishna on a partially shared existence basis. Hindu and Buddhist beliefs differ from some Western perceptions of reincarnation in that an incarnation or a soul are not closed circuits, but may participate in many sparks of consciousness. Thus, it is possible for 100 former sages, saints, and yogis to combine into a single incarnation in conjunction with an element of the divine. It is likewise possible to share an incarnation on a more mundane level. This might go a little way to explaining multiple personas, although, of course, all developed spirits are multifaceted to a reasonable degree. Incarnations of a high spiritual quality would certainly not manifest as divergent personalities, but rather be fluent in many cultures and situations while maintaining a healthy and united overview. And this is sort of the feeling of my soul, and I truly have had personal one-on-one experiences with many deities and energies of gods, angels, demons, fallen angels, and I know for a fact that my soul is quite ancient. I have a lot of past life memories from past incarnations, not only on Earth, but in a lot of other sort of realities. And I often have dreams of these different timelines, which is sort of why, I was born and raised Catholic myself, and I actually lived in the carriage house of Old St. Mary's Catholic Church, downtown Detroit, for the beginning of my life. But even being born and raised Catholic, even with my family, one side being hardcore Catholics and stuff, it would never bothered me, and I never questioned it or even thought twice about my spiritual path. I was the black sheep of the family, and I am here to change the DNA. I am here to break the curses. Nobody from the actual lineage was doing that at all. And that being said, I incarnated into these bloodlines to break the curses and to sort of renew and refresh and sort of change the direction of this DNA, of this genetic code here. And my children are on the same tip. They're all very, very spiritually in touch. Their birth charts, I mean, we all have receipts here. It's not anything I'm just saying to say it or because spirituality is popular. It's all written in the stars, y'all. Along with the flute, the two symbols most relevant to Krishna are the fawn and the peacock. The fawn represents both his rural upbringing and gentle, childlike nature, while the peacock symbolizes his royal birth and omniscient ability. The peacock has a vast lore of its own, all of it pertinent to Krishna. For example, its feet and its squawk are notoriously ugly, representing the material plane. Its plumage, however, is unrivaled in the bird kingdom and represents a higher level of consciousness. However, the peacock has long represented pride, and there are few greater obstacles to spiritual development than an excess of vanity. Just as the goddess Sarasvati rides on the back of the peacock, controlling it, so too does Krishna keep the negative aspects of the displaying bird under control. When with him, its beauty is dedicated to God, a declaration of the divine working through nature, and belongs to no individual entity, but to all. In the same manner does Krishna, with his symbolic ability to self-replicate, along to all his devotees. Finally, the eyes of the peacock feathers represent the mesmerizing allure of the material planes. Here we are hypnotized into believing that social status, riches, and transitory pleasures are more important than the search for God. Again, Krishna checks this, rehypnotizing the peacock into remembrance of God, a much sweeter melody than the peacock's squawk of self-interest. By far, the most effective tool for accessing Krishna is the Maha Mantra. Chant Hare Krishna, you guys. If you are interested in connecting with this energy, you will connect, and it will manifest to you in a very, very deep way. Concentrating on one of the widely available postcards or paintings of Krishna while chanting this mantra cannot fail to forge a living link with the deity. These images may seem rather kitsch at first, with their childlike simplicity and exuberant technicolor, but this makes them all the easier to visualize. Indeed, Hinduism has been employing creative visualization as a religious technique for thousands of years. Many of the ideas that inspired this book and the Invoke the Goddess are drawn directly from Hindu devotion and interaction with deities, a daily practice for the devout. How much easier it is to feel personally devoted to God or a goddess when you can actually envisage them. Then your mind has a foundation from which to develop its aspirations and spiritual insights. Invisible gods must rely on the forms of their prophets, if indeed the religion accepts any, or on a hypothetical sense of their presence, fuzzy at best. In the case of Christianity, a symbol and concomitant visualization of the most astonishing negativity has been construed. An image of Krishna being tortured would be sacrilege. When we are attuned to him, we experience pure joy. Krishna is a cult leader in that he inspires his devotees and obsessive attachment. He inspires in his devotees an obsessive attachment. Like the lead singer of a teen boy band, he receives adulation, often artless, from his stricken adorers, promising himself to all. He is physically exquisite, faultlessly suave, and full of witty repartee. Just as women fall in love with him, men do too. He is both physical and spiritual with his devotees, and with children he becomes one of them. A pesky playmate. Sorry, you guys see. And he has came and blessed my children, and they do experience the energy as well. He becomes one of their pesky playmates, full of schemes and mischief. As an adult, the most effective way to access him is to fall in love with him. Krishna can be all things to all people. Many icons depict him as a child, and the beautiful baby is a form of wide appeal, particularly in India. He may be adored as a babe, child, lover, friend, or sage. He is all of these and anything between. No positive emotion is rebuked by Krishna. There is no wrong or right way to love him, which again explains his popularity. Because Krishna is a god of bhakti, or devotion, the other most effective means of linking with him is to offer him a devotional gift. The fundamental technique of the Krishna consciousness movement is to make all principles, actions, and materials Krishna's, thus living in the perpetual awareness of love for Krishna, which is, according to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the perfection of yogic practice. This is because it denotes an all-encompassing awareness of the divine principle and selfless disinterest in all endeavors. Thus, when working, playing, eating, all is dedicated to Krishna. Also, breathing, creating, and dreaming are dedicated to Krishna. No aspect of being is omitted from this lifelong adoration of the Purnavitara. One of the sayings of Krishna most popular with the Krishna consciousness movement is, "If one of you offers me with love and devotion a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it." And I do keep all of the above on my altar, and sometimes sweets as well. I notice Ma Kali really is big on the sweets, so I always keep chocolate up there for her on her altar. Dark chocolate, of course. This interpretation of Bhagavad Gita 9.26 is of supreme importance. It indicates Krishna's accessibility through love. Merely the irrelevance of caste, material means, and religious ceremony in order to link with him mean that he is available to all at all times. So, a combination of the Maha Mantra thoughtfully chanted and a gift presented with genuine love, as simple or lovingly crafted as you wish, cannot fail to attract the attentions of beautiful blue-skinned Krishna. Now we get into contacting Krishna and the visualization / meditation. Contacting Krishna. Krishna may be accessed at any time of the year, day or night. Incense is always a good start with the Hindu deities. Something sweet, such as jasmine, is ideal for Krishna. And I was just posting the other day, you guys, I use Nagchampa incense here unfailingly. It is my go-to. My guides and all of the gods seem to love it, and it always attracts beautiful energies. Light a candle of yellow or Krishna blue and place it at a distance from you so that it won't be extinguished when you powerfully exhale. Contemplate an image of the beautiful blue god. Chant his mantra either out loud or in your head and offer him a gift. Flowers, a bowl of milk, or simply the smoke from your incense are all suitable. The most important gift is that of an open heart. Visualization for spiritual beauty and love. The most important thing in this exercise is to quietly sense all the pervasive power and goodwill of the divine. The experience is not action-packed like some of the other visualizations in this book, but rather induces a gentle awareness of love made manifest into the world. Sit cross-legged close to your candle, shut your eyes, and imagine yourself bathed in brilliant blue light on the brink of indigo. Visualize it so bright that you could almost touch it. Its particles seem thick and move very fast. Breathe this light in and out, concentrating on your third eye area, throat, and then heart. You should experience a feeling of peaceful anticipation or even excitement. After all, you're about to meet... Oh my gosh, my ear just started ringing so hard. You are about to meet a living love god. In front of you, the light blue begins to coagulate. Flashes of gold pass through it, and each time they do, the formulation increases in solidity. Gradually, the God appears in the aspect that appeals to you most. See Krishna in whatever form you prefer with your inner vision, whether he appears to you as an infant, a handsome youth, a grown man, a warrior, or in a more abstract way such as intelligent light. Feel the joy and love he emanates. You will immediately recognize true contact with him by the feeling of happiness and love infusing you. I'm sorry, y'all. As your perception of Krishna becomes more intense, listen for his flute. The celestial music draws the soul closer to God and enchants even the most hardened cynics. If you have envisaged intelligent light, be aware of the myriad of forms inside of it, the potential of it manifesting as flesh and blood avatar. Compassion dictates that Krishna takes a body from time to time, or that he flashes into the consciousness of mankind, dressed in one, to assure us of the fund of divine love, which can never run dry. This is needed from time to time to irrigate our parched faith. Note the elegant fluidity of Krishna's body, almost feminine in form, the kohl-rimmed eyes and infinitely compassionate gaze. His eyes are soft as fawns, at once guileless and searing. What a combination of the opposites, yet they harmonize beautifully. Beauty is certainly the trait that characterizes Krishna. Between the eyebrows is a U-shaped marking in red. It vibrates with a light the color of blood, a resource that Krishna is not afraid to shed. He knows the illusions that is death, and would slay the world to prove that there is no need to fear. Were the illusion not necessary for our development, his lips, equally red, are curved into a sweet smile. Approach the heavenly musician and feel the love and beauty that surrounds him, infiltrating your life on every level. As you concentrate on the celestial unction, offer Krishna your gift, whether it be a flower, a bowl of rice, or better still, your heartfelt devotion. Do not forget that the whole point of this exercise is to increase your spiritual love factor and awareness of the positive forces of the cosmos. So concentrate on the sheer beauty of Krishna until you really sense it. If you tune in properly, you should feel virtually delirious before too long, as if in love. I'm sorry, you guys. It really is that intense, and it's hard to read this right now. Cascades of cleansing light seem to be falling around you. Astral waterfalls in which your bodies are washed clean of the grime and debris of past hurts, fears, and feelings of hopeless mortality. As the light flows through you, you become increasingly aware of the reality of the God's manifestations of the same essentially benevolent source. This brings a sense of profound relief, as we all know how difficult it is to maintain a spiritual belief in the midst of the humdrum of daily living. However, with this perception comes the realization that nothing, in fact, is humdrum. Everything, however apparently mundane, is the manifestation of God and may be understood on a symbolic or magical level. And that's magic with a K. Bathe in this stimulating light for as long as you desire, using it to wash any particular issues you may have in mind. Reveal everything, however seemingly trivial or unworthy. Krishna can see all anyway, so there's no point in trying to hide your soul's vicissitudes. You may as well expose it to the powerful spiritual waters and watch as it's swept away, leaving the original situation hopefully crystal clear in the afterglow. The wonderful thing is that you are able to do this in such a sympathetic, uncritical environment. The understanding and compassion that emanate from Krishna are a continual emollient, and they make past mistakes and pains seem necessary but trivial. all fades to insignificance when confronted by this big love. There is no need to visualize Krishna fading when you have finished. He will either do so himself or hopefully stay around you to mark the end of the visualization. However, simply open your eyes, if indeed they have been shut, and blow out your candle. The reactions elicited will be different in each case, of course, but one thing is certain: the more frequently and devotedly you contemplate this God, the more often you chant his holy mantra, the stronger will be your link with one of the celestial repositories of spiritual beauty and love. Mundane archetypes. The Krishna boy is pretty, effete, and sensitive. Rougher hewn men tend to think he is gay. He is shy and most likely bisexual, but this can be rather academic, as his music and spiritual pursuits take up most of his thoughts. He will be attracted to strong women with the confident personalities, often more conventional than he is. This provides him with a grounding much needed in the cruel world. The Krishna type loves poetry and philosophy. He has a Rubaiyat of the Omar Khayyam and Khalil Gibran's The Prophet on his bookshelf, and copy of Derrida, sorry guys, butchering these words, which disappointed him with its superficiality. For him, philosophy must be heartfelt, not mere mental posturing. Under the bed of the Krishna archetype is a diary full of obsessive loves, raptures, and swirly doodles, a raft of poetry and songs he's written, and a shoebox full of love letters. Even if these were received when he was 8, he will still cherish them at 17. He believes in reincarnation and the beauty of God made manifest in nature by all living things. He's most likely to be vegetarian. He sings beautifully because he puts his soul into it. He is particularly influenced by Nick Drake and similar acoustic musician poets, and enjoys 60s and indie music in his more frivolous moments. He is what women call a beautiful man. They love him and want to be his friend, but many find him too spineless for a serious relationship. Alternately, he and a girl fall desperately in love, for he is sure to reciprocate any positive emotion sent in his direction. He's always gentle, possibly hirsute in middle age, more confident once he has explored the Buddhist and Hindu paths to which he is almost inevitably drawn. He travels widely and has rugs and tribal instruments on his walls. He may not marry. If he does, he might well find himself being nagged and grounded by the woman with whom he once tasted ecstasy. This could break his heart. Tarot card, the Lovers. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry it was a little rough to read, and it is really dark in here. It's like pitch black outside, so it was a little hard to see, but we got through it. And hopefully if someone can put a timestamp where the meditation starts, I would appreciate it greatly. If not, I will do it when I get around to it. And yeah, you guys, an amazing practice, reading the Bhagavad Gita, chanting Maha Mantra, devoting yourself to God in whatever form, is really why we came here, right? To create, to gain the wisdom of who and what we truly are, and to know ourselves and know God. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. The next one is Ganesh. We have Shiva as well in here. I don't know, kind of still feel like reading, so we may jump into the Gita or the Bible or something right now. I hope to see you guys on the next reading. Make sure you smash that thumbs up if this was entertaining.